Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to pick number 31 of a brand new series we're doing here in the month of July. My favorite 31 hard rock and metal albums of the 70s. We moved on from prog in the 70s to hard rock and metal of the 70s. We've got 31 days here in the month of July. I have picked out my 31 favorite hard rock and metal albums. Here this month, I am doing a maximum of 2 albums per any one band to keep it interesting because, once again, if I did the 3, we'd have, 6 or 7 bands. That would be the whole month. That's not as much fun, but it makes it tougher, right? Because then with the big bands that you love so much that have so many great albums, you have to, so which 2 am I going to include? And then sometimes you're thinking, well, I love this band, love a bunch of their albums, but I have these other bands that only had one great album in the 70s that has to be on this list. So there have been more moving and shaking going on than I can possibly even begin to tell you over the last couple days. I think it's going to continue. I'm still, even though my number 31 is set in stone, nothing changed in this one. I still think I have some movers and shakers in my top 31, in the top 30, I should say. I'm going to be finalizing and tweaking it today. But also one thing I do want, and I mentioned this in a video yesterday or the day before, there are certain bands who, they're rock bands. They may at times do a little bit of hard rock, what we consider hard rock, but I don't really consider them hard rock bands, and they're certainly not metal bands. So that is why I'm going to do, next month in August, I'm going to do my 30... however many days are in August, 30 or 31. I never look at the calendar like that far ahead of time. I'm going to do my favorite rock albums, right? So they're not hard rock, they're not metal, they're not prog. They're just rock, pop, maybe bluesy rock, boogie, maybe psych rock, that sort of thing. They don't really fit into the other categories we've already done. Also, this month, I'm not including any Southern rock albums this month because we did a whole Southern rock, my 30 favorite Southern rock albums a bunch of months ago, right, earlier in the year. So I'm not doing that. They're not so Lynyrd Skynyrd and Blackfoot and Outlaws and 38 Special and all these bands, they're not getting included in this month. Will they get included in the rock albums? I don't know. Maybe not, because I've already done a whole Southern rock thing. I don't need to kind of repeat that stuff, right? I tend to want to keep the lines drawn, so we're talking about different albums each and every month, right? So there's certain bands that we all know and love, and I love, and terrific, legendary albums that I'm not going to include this month because they're just not hard rock or metal. Right, so here the music's got to be fairly heavy for this month. That's kind of what I'm going at. Really hard rock and cranked up guitars, right? Lots of guitars, lots of solos, aggressive songs, right? Pretty heavy, meaty, weighing pretty high on the Richter scale, right? That's kind of what we're going for. Not everything's going to be Judas Priest or Black Sabbath heavy here, but it's got to be albums that are, they're pretty cranking, right? Next month, though, we'll go for more just the rock-based stuff, rock and pop and things like that, right? The albums that they're not really heavy albums, and not prog albums, and not Southern rock albums. That'll be next month, right? So anyway, with all that being said, I think some of you can imagine some of the bands that I'm talking about that will not be included this month, right? So anyway, this particular pick for my number 31 is the debut album from this band, somewhat of a supergroup. Released July 1972, produced by the band at Sunset Sound Recorder Studios in Hollywood, California for Capricorn Records. I am talking about Captain Beyond, self-titled. I know the Captain's probably watching. He's probably pretty excited about this because it's a great album. Right? There were a lot of people that are like, Pete, I can't believe you didn't include Captain Beyond in your prog series last month. Well, there's some progressive tendencies on here, but I never considered this a prog album. This is a really good kind of it's definitely a hard rock album. It's definitely a proto-metal album. It's definitely like a proto-progressive metal album. There's some pretty complicated stuff going on here, but at its core, this is just a really good, intricately woven hard rock album with some terrific players, right? You got Rod Evans on lead vocals, formerly of Deep Purple, who sounds magnificent on this album. You got Larry Rhino Reinhardt, right? Of course, coming over from Iron Butterfly, right? On guitars, you got Lee Dorman, bass and backing vocals, also from Iron Butterfly, and Bobby Caldwell on drums, percussion, and all things, cowbells and all that sort of thing. And of course, he played with, he's well traveled, right? Bobby Caldwell, of course, has played with Armageddon, Johnny Winter, right? Just all over the place. So these guys have lots of pedigree, and it's a classic album for a reason. But it's one of those albums that I think never really got kind of the credit it really deserved, right? Because it's not the most accessible album on the planet, right? I think it was way before its time when it came out. Way before its time. There's even kind of like a psychedelic or space rock edge to this album as well. So, of course, it's based on a lot of short pieces that all kind of segue into each other. That's the one really unique thing about this album. It just kind of the whole album just kind of flows really well. It starts off with Dancing Madly Backwards on a Sea of Air, which is a terrific song. It's one of the longer tracks on the album at 4 minutes. Amazing stuff. Then you got these series of shorter pieces, right? You got Armworth and Myopic Void, Mesmeration Eclipse, Raging River of Fear. All right, that makes up side 1. On side 2, you've got the 1,000 Days of Yesterdays, Frozen Over, 1,000 Days of Yesterdays, kind of part 2. I Can't Feel Nothing. Can't Feel Nothing is terrific. Great riffing on that. Great vocal. As the Moon Speaks to the Waves of the Sea, Astral Lady, As the Moon Speaks, Return, and I Can't Feel Nothing. I Can't Feel Nothing. Part 2. So it's really, to me, when I listen to this album, it's almost like you almost have to listen to this album like you would listen to Thick as a Brick or Passion Play by Jethro Tull. It just flow. Even some of the early Days of Future Past by Moody Blues comes to mind as well. It's just the whole album just kind of flows, doesn't stop. There's no real breaks, just goes from one piece to the next, all segueing into each other. And there's a kind of similar feel to the whole album. That's the way this one is. I have never said, oh yeah, from this album you gotta listen to this track. You gotta listen to the whole damn thing, straight through. It's the way it works. This is not an album where you pick songs out. I guess maybe Dancing Madly Backwards on the Sea of Air, the opener, is probably the one track that you can kind of lift from this album and say, go listen to that. But the rest of it, man, just boom, 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 boom. There's some amazing guitar work, amazing interplay. There's some really cool, complex arrangements and changes in time signatures and things like that. Really interesting. But all the players just really mesh well together. It's very intricately woven, but it's heavy, it's progressive, it's spacey, it's psychedelic, it's certainly hard rocking. And like I said, I would argue that Rod Evans' greatest vocal performance ever is on this album. Even better than some of the stuff he did with Deep Purple, because that stuff is very different from this. But sadly, after one more album with Captain Beyond, he would just kind of fade into the hills, never to be seen or heard from again, until, briefly, the early 80s when they put together that sham of a Deep Purple reunion thing that got shut down pretty quickly when Rod Evans and a bunch of other nobodies put together a band, and they were calling themselves Deep Purple and trying to fool the public. And that didn't. The lawyers intervened. That didn't end too well. So. Yeah, but this is a terrific album. Do we got any pictures of the guys other than them walking on... yeah, that's about it, right? Classic 70s photograph right there, right? And always love that cover art. Very, very cool. So that's my pick for number 31. A terrific album. If you've never listened to Captain Beyond, man, you were missing out. Of course, on the Capricorn label, like I mentioned, which is very strange because Capricorn Records, home to many a great southern rock bands at the time, and Captain Beyond were kind of like a weird fit there. Right, but that's where they were. That's where they got signed. So that's my pick for today. Let us know what you think of Captain Beyond's self-titled debut in the comments below, as well as your pick for first day here. But your pick number 31, because we go in reverse order, right? We go from the bottom all the way to number 1, and Let us know your pick for today. And visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also, down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations as well as our merch page. So thanks in advance for all your support there either way, whether you want to go get yourself a SOT shirt to go wear out in the wild and promote the channel, or you want to make a contribution. Either way, greatly appreciated. Sal, I wore the shirt for you today, so I realized I was going through seeing what shirt I'm going to wear today. I'm like, God, I haven't worn that Vandegraaff Generator shirt in ages. I'm going to put it on today. Awesome cover. It's a great album too, right? So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, of course, with pick number 30 as we work our way through the month of July, talking about our favorite hard rock and metal albums. Till then, I am Pete Pardo. Tune in just a couple hours. We got the UK Connection coming at you later today. And, of course, tomorrow is Ranking the Albums Day, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the morning. So till then, we'll see you real soon, everybody. Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.